Why was everyone staring at her like she didn't belong? The air horn outside screamed through the morning stillness, long, sharp, like a battlefield siren. It rattled the windows of Techforce Industries, a gray manufacturing plant on the edge of Arlington, Texas. Inside, under fluorescent lights that buzzed like distant drones, Dakota Blackstone, though no one called her that, stood at her metal press station, sweat tracing the collar of her faded camouflage shirt. They called her Cody. To most of the workers, she was just the strange woman in camo, quiet, precise, out of place among the smell of machine oil and steel dust. Every movement she made looked rehearsed, every step measured. And that was the problem. People notice precision when they don't understand it. Brad Jensen, the floor supervisor, noticed. He slammed his meaty hand against her workstation, making her coffee mug tumble, spilling dark liquid across her sleeve. "Hey G.I. Jane wannabe," he barked. "Halloween's 2 months gone, why you still playin' soldier?" Laughter erupted across the production line, the kind of laughter that feeds on one person's silence. Someone pulled out a phone. Another started recording. Cody didn't move. She didn't react. She just watched the coffee drip onto the concrete floor like a slow bleed. Mike Torres, shift lead, stepped closer, the sour mix of cigarettes and whiskey trailing him. "Listen, fake soldier. Tomorrow you show up in normal clothes or you pack up. We're running a factory here, not some boot camp fantasy." Cody reached for paper towels, calm, precise, each motion deliberate. Wipe, fold, dispose. No tremor in her hands, no apology on her face. Around her, 200 eyes waited for a reaction, any sign of humiliation, anger, something to feed on. But she gave them nothing. Ashley Chen from HR crossed the floor in sharp heels, her voice slicing through the noise. "Third dress code violation, Ms. Blackstone. This is your final warning. One more incident and you're terminated." Cody said nothing. The hum of machines swallowed her silence. Outside, brakes screeched. 5 military Humvees rolled up to the factory gate, unnoticed for now, engines idling like something waiting for its cue. 20 minutes. That's all the time left before everything in this factory would change. But inside, the laughter kept going. Brad Jensen leaned in again, sneering. "You know what I think? You're one of those stolen valor types. Probably bought that camo at a thrift store, huh? Looking for military discounts at Applebee." A few more chuckles, cameras closer now. Anyone here believe this wannabe ever served a day in her life? Derek Walsh, the guy with the neck tattoo and the GoPro on his hard hat, pushed forward. "Yo, I'm streaming this," he grinned. "My followers love cringe content." He lifted his phone toward her face. "Say something, fake soldier. Tell us about all your imaginary combat missions." Something in Cody's eyes changed, not anger, not fear, but calculation. Like she was taking inventory of exits, distances, positions. Someone threw a crumpled napkin. It bounced off her shoulder and fell to the floor. She bent to pick it up, and that's when Derek grabbed the back of her collar. "Let's see what's under that fake uniform." The sound of tearing fabric cracked through the factory. The laughter died. Across her left shoulder blade, black ink curved around muscle and scar. A ghostly figure wrapping a dagger, the words Protocol 1 etched beneath it. "Silence." Tom Bailey, an old vet who'd worked this line since the 70s, dropped his coffee mug. That's impossible." He stepped closer, eyes narrowing at the tattoo. "Ghost Protocol was disbanded," he whispered. "Everyone with that mark, they're supposed to be dead." Cody reached up and drew the torn fabric together, pinning it shut with one hand. Still silent, still calm. The ghost insignia shimmered faintly under the fluorescent light, a warning no one understood. Alina Rodriguez, the woman at the next station, was the only one who didn't laugh, didn't move. She'd noticed things over months of night shifts, how Cody always faced an exit, how her gaze swept the room like a scanner, how she never flinched at loud noises. and that 45-degree stance, textbook military at-rest posture. "Leave her alone," Elena said quietly, but her voice was drowned out. Mike Torres grabbed Cody's lunch bag from the breakroom table and dumped it onto the floor. Sandwich, apple, bottle of water, then a small orange container rolled under the table, a prescription bottle, label turned away. He kicked it further, probably fake pills too. Laughter again. But Tom Bailey didn't laugh. He was watching the way Cody's breathing stayed perfectly measured. 4 seconds in, hold, 4 out, hold. The kind of controlled breathing they teach you when staying calm means staying alive. Cody finally spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "I need to finish this batch before shift change." The words hung there, fragile, precise. Derek zoomed his camera closer. "She speaks. What unit were you in, huh? What was your rank? Come on, every real vet loves talking about their service." Brad picked up a wrench, tapping it against his palm. "You know what we do to people who pretend to be soldiers, who fake the uniform." Cody's eyes flicked toward the clock. 06:30 hours. Her fingers twitched, not a nervous tick but reflex. A subtle motion of someone checking synchronization time without a watch. "Ms. Blackstone," Ashley said sharply, tablet in hand. "Your file shows military experience but no DD-214, no discharge papers, no verification. That's fraud." "I provided what was required," Cody replied evenly. Ashley frowned. "That's not proof of service. I'm recommending termination immediately." The crowd grew, phones up, whispers spreading through the factory chat, "Fake soldier gets owned." Outside, the engines at the gate shifted into idle. The convoy waited. Cody's worn backpack sat beside her station, unassuming, but heavier than it looked. Inside, hardened electronics, encrypted satcoms, field gear that didn't belong in any civilian space. She touched the strap gently, not protectively, but like confirming it was still there. Brad sneered, "Can't even defend yourself. Real soldiers have backbone." Her breathing didn't change. Still the same 4-count rhythm, still calm. Then a sound, a mechanical scream. The entire production line froze, red lights flashed, warning klaxons blared. Mike Torres rushed to the main console. "What the hell? It's frozen. Whole system's locked up." 3 IT techs sprinted in, their fingers flying over keyboards. Lines of code filled the screens, gibberish symbols, Russian characters, binary. "It's like nothing I've seen," the lead tech said, panic rising. "System architecture's rewritten. This isn't a glitch." Brad spun around. "You did this, didn't you?" Cody shook her head once. "The attack vector came from outside. Check your firewall logs, timestamp 0623. The words dropped like steel. The IT team froze. That exact precision, the timestamp, the terminology, didn't belong to a factory worker. "How could you possibly know that?" one of them asked. "The cascade pattern is consistent with a polymorphic DDoS injection," Cody said quietly. "Firmware's outdated. Your vulnerability's been public since 2022. The room went dead silent. Ashley stared at her. "If you know so much, fix it." "I'm not authorized to access your systems," Cody replied. Brad barked a laugh. "You're not authorized to wear military clothes either, but that hasn't stopped you." That's when Richard Stone Jr., the owner's son, walked in, crisp suit, Harvard polish, 26 and already used to control. "What's the delay?" he snapped. Mike pointed at Cody. "This one claims she knows what's wrong but won't help." Richard's gaze swept her like she was an inconvenience. "You're the employee who insists on dressing like a soldier, the one disrupting company culture." "Yes, sir," Ashley confirmed. "We were processing her termination." "Good, security will escort her out." Cody looked up. Her voice was quiet, even unhurried. "The attack is escalating. You have 4 minutes before it breaches your financial systems. After that, Government contracts database. Richard froze, phone halfway to his ear. What? Check Terminal 7, she said. Trace the incoming packets. The IT tech did as told and blanched. She's right. There's a secondary payload preparing to execute. How did you? The signature matches Lazarus Group, Cody murmured. They always deploy in 3 stages: disruption, extraction, then infiltration. No one spoke. The only sound was the hum of computers and the faint thrum of the Humvees outside. Richard's arrogance cracked. Can you stop it? Not without proper authorization and equipment. Brad laughed again. Of course, all talk, no. Shut up, Tom Bailey growled. Everyone turned. The old veteran's hands trembled, but his eyes were steady. The way she moves, the words she uses, that's not a faker. I've seen that look before in Saigon 72. Special ops, the kind that don't exist on paper. Ashley scrolled through her tablet. Her previous employer, Department of Defense, Classified Division. We assumed it was a joke. Pull up the 2019 Atlanta ransomware breach, Cody said, her voice quiet, focused. Cross-reference defense contractor infiltrations the following year. Same signature, same evolution, except this one's quantum-resistant. The lead IT tech checked and went pale. She's right, that information's classified. 3 minutes, Cody said. After that, you lose your clearances, your company's finished. Richard made a choice. What do you need? A clean terminal, administrative access, my equipment. Everyone stepped back 10 feet. This is insane, Brad barked. 2 minutes 40, Cody said, already moving. Do it, Richard ordered. The IT team cleared space. Cody opened her backpack, and the world seemed to hold its breath. Inside, no lunch, no purse. Just military-grade tech. A laptop scratched and dented from field use, non-standard cables, secure drives. She connected them without hesitation, fingers flying in a blur. Lines of code streamed like living light. She wasn't typing, she was conducting. Her breath matched the rhythm of the screens. 60 seconds, she murmured, deploying honeypot. Brad took a step forward. This is all. Stay back. Her voice wasn't loud, but it carried command, the kind that bypasses argument and hits straight into the primal part of the brain that obeys. He froze. 30 seconds, she said softly. Firewall breach imminent, countering. Foreign languages scrolled, Russian, Mandarin, Farsi. She read them all. Tom Bailey whispered, I've seen that before, multi-language cyber warfare ops. Only a few units could. 15 seconds, Cody said. Final counterstrike ready. The Humvees outside shifted into formation. Someone in the convoy spoke into a radio. 10 seconds. 5. Her finger hovered over the key. Execute. The factory went dark. For a heartbeat, nothing. Then the lights returned. Every monitor glowed with a single message. Threat neutralized. Ghost protocol defense active. Silence. 200 workers frozen, the weight of disbelief pressing the air flat. The woman they'd mocked, the one they'd humiliated for wearing camo, had just saved the company. Richard swallowed hard. Ghost protocol, that's a classified defense program. Cody closed her laptop, packed it away. Your systems are stable for now, but update your infrastructure. You'll be targeted again within 72 hours. Who are you? Ashley whispered. Before Cody could answer, the main doors burst open. Soldiers poured in, weapons raised, movement flawless, professional. The crowd panicked. Everyone down. Then boots on concrete. A single figure walking forward, authority radiating like heat. Colonel James Harrison. He crossed the floor and stopped in front of Cody, exactly 3 feet away. Then he saluted, sharp, perfect. Commander Blackstone, he said, his voice echoing through the factory. Ghost Protocol Authentication 77 Alpha Niner. The United States Cyber Command requires your immediate assistance. And in that moment, every laugh, every insult, every doubt collapsed under the truth. She wasn't a faker. She was the real thing. Why did a decorated colonel just salute a factory worker? Every machine on the floor went silent as Colonel James Harrison's salute cut through the haze like a blade. The soldiers who'd stormed the building now stood at ease, weapons lowered but ready, forming a cordon around the bewildered crowd. Brad Jensen's jaw slackened. His wrench clattered to the floor. Mike Torres took a step back, nearly tripping over the spill of parts at his boots. Phones that had been lifted to record the humiliation now trembled in shaking hands. "Commander Blackstone," the colonel repeated, voice resonant with command authority. "United States Cyber Command requests your immediate assistance." Cody didn't return the salute. She didn't need to. Retired officers of her classification were beyond formalities. "I'm retired, Colonel," she said quietly. "My commission was terminated after Operation Firewall." The colonel's eyes softened only for a fraction of a second. "Your commission was never terminated, Commander. It was classified beyond black. You've been on reserve status ever since." He turned to the assembled workers, his voice hardening again. "And right now, your country needs her." Brad blinked, struggling to form words. This is a joke. She runs a press machine. She makes minimum wage." The colonel's stare pinned him in place. "Mr. Jensen, is it?" He tapped a tablet on his wrist-mounted console. "Bradley Paul Jensen, born 1982, 2 arrests for public intoxication, 1 dismissed assault charge, recently denied security clearance due to financial irregularities." Brad went pale. How do you?" "I know," the colonel said evenly, "because that's what intelligence does, it knows." The factory floor held its breath. "Commander," he continued, turning back to Cody, "we have a situation. The attack on this facility was only the probe. The main assault begins in," he checked his military watch, "17 minutes. Target, NORAD's Continental Defense Grid." Gasps rippled across the crowd. Someone whispered, "That's impossible." "Not impossible," Cody murmured, her gaze distant. "Strategic." Ashley Chen found her voice, brittle and shaking. "Colonel, Ms. Blackstone, she's an employee here. She can't just walk off the floor without authorization." The colonel's hand rested casually on his holster, not drawing, just reminding. Executive Order 13,984 grants Cyber Command the right to conscript any civilian with critical skills during a national security event. "Would you like me to show you the order, ma'am?" Ashley stepped back, eyes wide. "No, sir, of course not." Elena Rodriguez's voice broke through the silence. "Cody, is this real? Are you really who he says you are?" Cody's fingers touched the small scar along her throat. "I was," she said softly, "before I lost everyone, before I decided saving lives behind a screen wasn't worth the cost." The colonel's jaw tightened. "Your husband's sacrifice saved 17 intelligence assets in Syria. Your brother's actions in Afghanistan stopped a terrorist convoy headed for Kabul airport. They understood the mission. They'd want you back." No one spoke. Even the fluorescent lights seemed to hum more quietly. Derek Walsh, still clutching his phone, whispered to himself, is this live stream even real?" The colonel's gaze flicked toward him. "Turn that off, son." Derek obeyed instantly. Tom Bailey, the old vet, stepped forward, voice roughened by time and guilt. "Knew it," he said quietly. "Knew that stance. Same eyes I saw in the Phoenix program boys, the ones who didn't exist." Cody reached into her backpack. For a heartbeat, the soldiers tensed, hands brushing weapons until they saw what she pulled out, a pair of black dog tags. No name, no blood type, only a number, 7701. The air changed, reverent cold. 15 minutes, the colonel said, urgency edging his tone. "We need to move, Commander." "I need my kit," Cody replied. "It's in my truck." Mike Torres frowned. "You mean that rust bucket out there, the one that barely starts?" Cody gave a thin smile. "Appearances can be deceiving." She pressed a sequence on her key fob. Outside, a muted electronic chirp answered, not the whine of a normal alarm, but the encrypted tone of a biometric unlock. Heads turned toward the windows as the convoy of Humvees repositioned, their engines roaring to life. Brad swallowed hard. "You're serious, all this for you?" Cody didn't answer. She was already walking. The soldiers parted around her, falling into escort formation without a word. As she reached the doorway, she paused, turning back to the room that had been her cage for 8 long months. "Secure your systems," she said to the IT techs. "They'll try again before sundown." Then she was gone. Outside, the Texas sun had begun to rise, washing the parking lot in a pale amber glow. The Humvees idled beside her old pickup, a rust-coated decoy hiding technology worth more than the factory itself. Cody opened the truck bed. Inside, beneath an ordinary tarp, lay a hardened case. She lifted it effortlessly, passed it to the colonel, and said, "Authorization code, Ghost 7. A nearby soldier keyed the sequence into a handheld terminal. It beeped twice, access confirmed. Brad and the others had followed outside, drawn by the surreal sight. Mike Torres whispered, "Jesus, that truck got more clearance than the White House." The colonel motioned to his driver, "Load it, wheels up in 10. "Colonel," came a voice from one of the Humvee's comm units. "Command confirms Crimson Phantom signature detected. They've re-entered U.S. servers." The colonel's expression hardened. "They're escalating." Cody froze mid-stride, the name hitting her like a gunshot. "Crimson Phantom." "Yes," the colonel said carefully. "Same cell that hit you in 2019. Her eyes darkened, the air around her seeming to grow colder. "They're supposed to be dead." "Apparently," he said, "death was exaggerated. They've been preparing for 5 years. And this time they knew exactly where to find you." Cody's voice dropped to a whisper. "Someone leaked my location." The colonel glanced at the mass of workers watching from the doors. "We're still investigating. For now, the priority is defense. We move in 5. Brad's voice trembled. "You're saying this whole thing, the attack, the systems, was bait for her?" The colonel didn't even look at him. "The woman you've been mocking for 8 months prevented 7 major cyber attacks on national infrastructure. She wrote the defense protocols that protect our nuclear arsenal. She created Ghost Protocol, a program that doesn't officially exist, but has saved more lives than most wars." The weight of those words landed like a hammer. Ashley Chen whispered, "But our background checks would have shown." "They showed what they were meant to show," the colonel cut in. "A woman seeking quiet work. She chose this factory because you manufacture components for defense hardware. She's been guarding you from the inside." Richard Stone Jr. felt his stomach twist. "Guarding us? You mean we were targeted before?" "3 times, Cody said, her tone clinical. "You never knew. I stopped them before they breached." Gasps, disbelief, guilt. Elena covered her mouth. "You mean all those night shifts, the overtime, you weren't here for money?" "The night shift meant fewer eyes," Cody confirmed. "Easier to run deep scans." The colonel checked his watch. 12 minutes. He signaled to his security team to clear a path to the vehicles, but Cody stopped him. She turned toward the gathered workers, the same people who'd mocked her, humiliated her, stripped her peace away. There was no bitterness in her face, only exhaustion. "I need a clean room," she said. "No windows, direct fiber connection, minimal interference." Richard stammered, "The conference room upstairs, it's executive only," he caught himself. "Yes, of course." As she passed, Mike Torres called out, Why take all that crap from us, if you're this?" Cody paused at the base of the stairs, hand gripping the rail. Because after you lose everyone you love in service to your country, being invisible feels safer than being seen. Tom Bailey nodded slowly, eyes wet. But wars aren't done with you, are they? No, Cody said, they never are. Upstairs, the colonel's team had already moved with silent precision. The conference room was transformed in minutes, windows covered with dark shielding, signal jammers humming, portable terminals unpacked from matte black crates. Inside that improvised war room, the woman in faded camo looked once more like what she truly was, a soldier at war. 10 minutes until NORAD's first firewall breach, the colonel reported. Satellite uplink coming online. The main screen flickered, stabilizing into the face of a 4-star general. Commander Blackstone, said General Patricia Hayes, voice taut with fatigue. Authentication confirmed. We're tracking 1,700 intrusion attempts per second. Our teams can't hold the line. Cody's fingers already moved across the keyboard, summoning streams of code like rivers of light. Show me their attack pattern. Behind her, through the reinforced glass, dozens of factory workers pressed to watch. They didn't understand the screens, but they felt the gravity of what unfolded, a war fought without gunfire. Brad Jensen stood at the front, pale, shaking. Mike Torres whispered to him, "That's her saving us, again." Inside, Cody's eyes scanned faster than humanly natural. They're using quantum entanglement to randomize their vectors. Traditional firewalls are useless. Can you stop them? General Hayes asked. Not from here, Cody said. I need to be in the stream. The colonel's eyes widened. Commander, a direct neural interface under active attack is off protocol. The feedback could kill you. Cody met his gaze. Protocols assume we have options, we don't. She reached into her pack again, pulling out a Neuralink headset, scarred, battle-worn, streaked with black scoring. She fitted it over her temples, the device locking with a faint click. 8 minutes until breach, the colonel warned. Cody exhaled slowly. Then let's make them regret coming back. Her fingers danced across the keys, entering codes that existed nowhere in any manual. The screens exploded with color, digital serpents intertwining, attack and counterattack, light and shadow. Outside the glass, Derek Walsh whispered, "She's fighting them in her head." The colonel looked back at the crowd. "She's fighting for you, all of you." Inside, Cody's breathing slowed again to that soldier's rhythm. 4 in, hold, 4 out, hold. 7 minutes, she said. Neural link established. The headset pulsed with faint blue light. Her body went rigid. Her consciousness dove into cyberspace. When her eyes opened again, lines of data shimmered across her irises. "Contact," she whispered. 3 operators, Eastern Europe, no signal bounce. They're here, Dallas sector. In country, the colonel barked. 40 miles southwest. Her voice turned grim. This was personal. They wanted me to respond. It's a trap. Abort, General Hayes ordered through the comm. Negative, Cody said. If I pull out, they win. The colonel's jaw clenched. Around him, every soldier in the room stood a little straighter, because they knew that tone, the voice of someone who'd already decided to stay in the fight, whatever the cost. Outside the glass, the workers watched the faint tremor in her hands, the trickle of blood from her nose, the way she didn't flinch. They were witnessing courage stripped of glamour, pure endurance. Brad Jensen's whisper was barely audible. "She's bleeding." Tom Bailey answered, "Neural feedback. 30% mortality rate, she knows." Inside the sealed room, the colonel spoke softly into his comm. "Get me Washington, now." Cody's voice cut through the static. 5 minutes, they're adapting. Someone gave them my code book. "Doesn't matter now," the colonel said. "Just hold." 4 minutes, initiating Omega. The general's voice spiked. "That requires presidential authorization." "Then you have 3 minutes to get it," Cody shot back. Blood streamed down her cheek. Her fingers never slowed. Downstairs, the factory was utterly still. 200 people who once mocked her now prayed silently. Upstairs, a soldier handed the colonel his encrypted phone. He listened, nodded once, and said the words that would be carved into the memory of everyone present. Omega authorized, weapons free. Cody's lips curved in something that might have been a smile or the last flicker of strength. Copy that. Then the room erupted in white light. Every screen in the building, every phone, every monitor flashed with the spectral image of a ghost and the number 1 beneath it. "She's weaponizing the network," the colonel whispered, awe edging his tone, "turning the entire internet against them." Cody's breathing hitched. "1 minute, I have their location, 42 miles southwest, sending coordinates." "Strike teams en route," General Hayes confirmed. 30 seconds, Cody whispered. The colonel stepped forward. "Cody, if you burn them, the feedback will." "Kill me," she finished. "I know." Her eyes met his, calm, unflinching. "My husband died saving 17. My brother died saving hundreds. How many millions depend on NORAD?" The colonel's throat tightened. He'd heard that voice before on battlefields in last transmissions, the voice of acceptance. 15 seconds, she said. "Tell my story, make sure they know I wasn't a fraud." Her fingers moved one final time, a blur of motion, then stillness. Every screen went white. Then black. The factory plunged into silence. And Dakota Blackstone, the woman in the worn camo shirt, collapsed to the floor. Why did the room stay so quiet after she fell? For 3 long heartbeats, no one moved. The hum of the servers had gone still, the screens blank as if the building itself were holding its breath. Then the colonel's shout broke the spell. "Medic!" 2 soldiers surged forward. The neural headset still smoked, the metal scorched from overload. They tore it free as the colonel caught Cody before her head hit the floor. Blood streaked her temple, a thin line tracing down the side of her face. "Pulse." The medic pressed fingers to her neck. Nothing, then faint a flutter, weak but present, starting stimulants. The needle went in, sharp, fast. A hiss of compressed oxygen followed. Outside the glass wall, workers pressed close, faces pale. Brad Jensen looked like he'd aged 20 years in 2 minutes. Mike Torres whispered a prayer he barely remembered from childhood. Then a cough. Soft, hoarse, but unmistakable. Cody's eyes opened halfway. "Status," she rasped. The colonel almost laughed. Relief cracked his composure. 5x5, Commander, threat neutralized, NORAD secure." Applause broke out before anyone realized what they were doing. It started as a ripple, one pair of hands, then another, until the sound filled the hallway like rain after drought. Cody blinked at the noise, dazed. "Too loud," she murmured. The medic eased her upright. "You shouldn't move." "I've been through worse." She tried to stand, her knees buckled. The colonel caught her again, steadying her. "You're going to the hospital," he said. "No," Cody answered, voice steadier now. "I finished my shift." The words hit everyone differently. The colonel stared at her, speechless. Around them, civilians exchanged bewildered looks. Brad finally found his voice. "You just saved the country, and you're worried about your time card." Cody looked straight at him. "Commitment doesn't end when the crisis does." Brad flinched like he'd been struck. The colonel wanted to argue but stopped himself. He'd served long enough to know when a soldier needed control more than comfort. "At least let the medic stay with you." "Fine." She slid down from the table, bare feet touching the cold tile, moving with that same controlled grace the factory had seen for months without ever understanding. Downstairs, the news had already reached the floor. Screens lit up again, showing a single message pulsing in digital blue. NORAD secure, Ghost Protocol Omega complete. Workers stood frozen, some crying openly. The quiet woman in worn camo, the one they'd mocked for 8 months, had defended an entire continent. By the time Cody and the colonel reached the bottom of the stairs, cameras from Derek's still-running stream were broadcasting to tens of thousands. The chat scrolled faster than human eyes could read. Is she alive? That's real ghost protocol. I served with someone like her, respect. Cody walked through them like a shadow, supported on one side by the medic, on the other by the colonel's steady hand. Ashley Chen stepped forward, her immaculate tablet trembling. Ms. Blackstone, Commander, your file. I'm recommending an immediate promotion. Executive pay, benefits, anything you want. Cody shook her head. I want to finish my shift. That's insane, Richard Stone blurted. You're a national hero. You should be running our security division. She stopped and looked at him, her expression unreadable. I've been a hero. It cost me everyone I loved. I just want to be invisible again. Silence. Then faintly the colonel's earpiece crackled. Sir, incoming call, encrypted White House channel. He handed Cody the device. For you. She hesitated, then lifted it. Blackstone. The voice on the other end was unmistakable, measured, presidential, carrying the weight of office. Commander, this is the President of the United States. I've been briefed on your actions. The nation owes you a debt we can never repay. Every head in the hallway turned. Just doing my job, sir, Cody said softly. No, the President replied. You were doing everyone else's job while they failed to do theirs. I'm reinstating your commission with full honors. We have a developing situation that requires Ghost Protocol's specific expertise. Cody closed her eyes for a moment. Sir, I'm retired. Commander, nobody retires from Ghost Protocol. They just take extended leave, and yours ends today. The line clicked off. She handed the earpiece back, her face unreadable. The colonel gave a single nod, respect, understanding, inevitability. 10 minutes, he told his team, prep transport. When she stepped onto the factory floor again, the crowd parted for her without a word. The air smelled of oil and ozone, but beneath it lay something new, shame. She stopped at her station, the same one where Brad had spilled coffee hours ago, and began shutting down the press. Each lever, each switch, each motion deliberate. Alina approached cautiously, her voice shook. Cody, my brother, served in Afghanistan, 3rd Battalion, 75th Rangers. They said he died in an IED blast, September 2018. Cody's hand stilled. What was his name? Specialist Miguel Rodriguez. Recognition flickered. Operation Steel Rain. He volunteered to extract a compromised asset, spotted the device before detonation, saved 13, including the intelligence officer who later prevented an airport bombing. Alina covered her mouth, tears spilling. They never told us. They just said he died a hero. He was more than that, Cody said quietly. He mattered. I remember every one of them. Tom Bailey shuffled forward, pulling something from his pocket, a worn brass coin, edges smoothed by 50 years of handling. First Air Cav, Vietnam, he said. I've carried this since '73, waiting to meet someone worthy of it. He placed it in Cody's palm. She studied it for a long moment, then pressed it back into his hand. Keep it. Give it to her. Her brother earned it. Tom turned and slipped the coin into Alina's trembling fingers. That small exchange did more than any speech could have. Around them, the workers began to understand this wasn't fiction, wasn't internet theater. It was service and loss and a lifetime of carrying ghosts. Outside, engines rumbled. 3 black SUVs had joined the convoy. Secret Service agents moved like dark silhouettes, establishing perimeter control. Richard Stone hurried after them. Commander, wait. We need to discuss compensation, position. We can't just let you walk away. You can, she said, but make me a deal instead. He blinked. Anything. Hire veterans, real ones. Stop judging people by how they look. Create a place where someone like me doesn't have to hide to find peace. Richard swallowed hard. Done, whatever it takes. Brad Jensen stepped forward, eyes red. His voice cracked. Please, I need to make this right. Tell me how. Cody faced him. You want to make it right? Volunteer at the VA hospital. Sit with the ones who came home. Listen before you judge. I will, he whispered. Every week, I swear. Mike Torres nodded beside him. I'll go too. Ashley Chen had already started typing furiously on her tablet. I'm rewriting our policies right now. Mandatory veteran training, harassment protocols. Cody cut her off gently. It'll happen somewhere else. The question is whether someone will have the courage to stop it. Through the open doors, sunlight poured across the floor, bright and merciless. Derek Walsh held up his phone. Commander, your stream's still live. 100,000 people are watching. News networks picked it up. Cody looked at him, then past him, at the faces of the workers, the tears, the awe, the shame. Then maybe someone else hiding in plain sight will stop hiding. She started toward the exit, boots echoing softly on the concrete. At the threshold, she turned. The attack today wasn't random, she said, voice low but carrying. Someone leaked my location to Crimson Phantom. Someone in this room is a traitor. Gasps, a dozen heads swiveled. The FBI will be here within the hour, she continued. They'll check every phone, every email, every account. Whoever it was, you didn't just betray me. You betrayed your country. No one breathed. Then she stepped out into the heat, leaving silence behind her. The parking lot shimmered under the Texas sun. Around her, Humvees idled beside the SUVs. Soldiers stood at attention. Cody walked to her rust-colored pickup. She pressed another code into the key fob. A hidden compartment slid open in the truck bed, revealing a single duffel bag, olive drab, patched, well-used. She slung it over her shoulder and faced the colonel. Now I'm ready. Convoy set, he said. White House wants you airborne within the hour. As she climbed into the armored SUV, she glanced back through the tinted glass. The entire factory staff stood gathered outside, shielding their eyes from the glare, watching her leave. Some cried openly. Others stood stiffly at attention, hands raised in awkward salutes they'd never been taught to make. At the front stood Alina, holding Tom Bailey's coin high. The sun caught it, flashing once, a spark of gold in the hot air. A signal, a promise. Cody exhaled slowly. Let's move. The convoy rolled out, engines blending into a single thunderous rhythm as they turned onto the highway. Inside the SUV, the colonel glanced back. Cody sat with her duffel between her boots, fingers resting on the worn fabric. For the first time since dawn, she looked tired, truly tired. You did good work today, he said. She didn't answer, just stared out the window as the factory shrank behind them, a gray block in the distance. Her phone buzzed, an encrypted message from an unknown number, 4 words only. Welcome back, Ghost One. Beneath it, a second line. Some of us never believed you were gone. She felt the faintest smile. Ghost 7, alive, which meant others might be too. The colonel caught the expression, old friend. Old family, she said. He nodded once. Then maybe this world still has a fighting chance. Cody looked out at the passing landscape, flat Texas plains rolling toward horizon. The hum of engines, the faint rattle of armor, the quiet before another storm. Sometimes, she thought, dignity doesn't speak, it simply acts. How do you return to a life you already died for? The convoy sped down the interstate, engines a steady growl beneath the whisper of tires on asphalt. Sunlight flickered through the tinted glass, cutting across Cody's face in bright, passing stripes. The colonel rode opposite her, silent. They didn't need words. Soldiers who'd spent years in classified silence learned to speak through stillness. Outside, the Texas plains blurred past long stretches of dry grass, fences, distant billboards that meant nothing to people who lived in shadows. Cody kept one hand on her duffel, the other on the small black phone in her lap. Every few minutes it vibrated, another encrypted alert from channels she'd thought were buried years ago. Ghost protocol frequencies coming back to life. She scrolled through the messages, fragments, coordinates, call signs. Ghost 3 active, Ghost 9 dark, Ghost 7 mobile. Each one a pulse from a world the rest of the country pretended didn't exist. The colonel finally spoke. You were right, Crimson Phantom was bait. We traced their uplink to a local relay outside Dallas. They wanted you visible. Cody's gaze stayed on the horizon. They wanted revenge. I burned half their network 5 years ago. They've been rebuilding ever since. Then this was personal. Always is, she said. The colonel studied her profile, the scar near her collar, the quiet fatigue behind her eyes. You could have stayed hidden, Dakota. Nobody would have blamed you. I tried, she said softly. 8 months pressing steel, it almost worked. The convoy turned onto a private access road that cut toward a military airfield, fenced and silent except for the distant whine of turbines. You sure you're fit to deploy? He asked. Define fit. He smiled faintly, alive. She looked at her hands, faint tremors still ran through them from the neural backlash. Then yes, for now. The convoy rolled to a stop beside a waiting C-130 transport, its fuselage painted matte gray, engines already spooling. Ground crews in plain fatigues moved like ghosts themselves, loading sealed cases into the hold. Cody stepped out. The warm air hit her face, full of jet fuel and dust. For a second she closed her eyes and simply breathed. The smell brought everything back, deployments, briefings, nights in desert outposts when silence felt like safety. The colonel walked beside her toward the ramp. The president authorized full reactivation of Ghost Protocol. You'll have funding, personnel, and... I don't need personnel, she interrupted. I need my team. He nodded. We're tracking them. Ghost 7 made contact an hour ago. 3 and 9 are unconfirmed but probably alive. They'll come, Cody said. They always do when it matters. At the base of the ramp, a Secret Service agent held out a folder. Commander Blackstone, briefing packet from the National Security Council. She didn't take it. Save the paper, talk. The agent hesitated, then glanced to the colonel, who gave a nod. Primary target, a quantum encryption facility in North Korea. They've developed tech capable of masking intercontinental missile launches from NORAD detection. We need to know if it's operational. Cody's eyes narrowed. And destroy it if it is. The agent's silence was confirmation. The colonel motioned toward the aircraft. Your seat's up front. She climbed the ramp slowly, every step echoing like the rhythm of a heartbeat. Inside, the cargo bay glowed under red lights, and there they were. 3 figures waiting amid crates and cables, civilian clothes, but nothing ordinary about the way they stood. Ghost 3, a woman with gray streaks in her hair and a calm, dangerous stillness. Ghost 7, the one who'd texted her, broad-shouldered, eyes that had seen too much but still searched for meaning. Ghost 9, younger, restless, a scar like lightning down his jaw. Thought you'd quit for good, 7 said. I tried, Cody replied. 3 gave a thin smile. None of us quit, we just get misplaced. They met halfway across the bay, silent handshakes that carried years of loss. No reunion cheers, no embraces, just the quiet recognition of people who'd buried too many comrades to celebrate survival. The colonel followed them in, voice low but firm. You all know the brief. The North Korean facility is using captured quantum hardware stolen through Crimson Phantom intermediaries. Their code signatures match the Dallas attack. We believe Phantom's leadership is embedded there. Then we end it, Cody said. 9 tapped a tablet bringing up satellite imagery. Facility, built into a mountain range. Minimal external heat signature. Underground data cores. Cody studied the map. We'll need dual entry, physical breach, and cyber infiltration. No support, no comms once inside. Just like old times, 3 murmured. Worse, Cody said, they've learned from us. The aircraft shuddered as it began taxiing. Red lights dimmed to a low hum. The rear ramp lifted, sealing them in. Cody took a seat on a bench along the wall, clipped her harness, and stared at nothing for a long time. 7 watched her. You all right? She almost laughed. Define all right. Still bleeding. Just the usual ghosts. He leaned forward, elbows on knees. They said you flatlined for 12 seconds. Long enough to get yelled at by my husband again. That earned a faint smile from him. What'd he say? That I'm still bad at taking orders. The laughter that followed wasn't loud, but it was real. The kind that existed only among people who'd already seen death and found a way to keep moving. When the noise faded, 3 reached into her jacket and pulled out a small metal cylinder, still carrying it. Cody nodded, always. She opened her duffel and withdrew a piece of cloth, her faded camo shirt from the factory, still stained with coffee and blood. Carefully, she wrapped it around the cylinder and placed both back inside. 3 watched the ritual with understanding. Reminders. Anchors, Cody said, so I don't forget who I am when the mission starts. 2 hours into the flight, the colonel came forward from the cockpit. You're about to lose contact with U.S. airspace. Communications blackout in 60 seconds. He hesitated, then said quietly, the president wanted me to tell you personally. He's sorry for pulling you back in. Cody didn't look up. Peace was an illusion. I wasn't healing. I was hiding. The colonel nodded. Then welcome back to the living. She looked at him, tired but steady. Colonel, one request. Name it. When this is over, I want oversight on defense contractor hearing. If a company discriminates against veterans, they lose their clearance. He chuckled softly. You saved NORAD with a neural interface while bleeding from your brain. I think you can ask for more than HR reform. Maybe, she said, but that's where wars start, people forgetting who fought them. He extended his hand. Consider it done. She shook it once, firm, final. The plane leveled off. Red light bathed the bay in a dreamlike glow. Outside the portholes stretched endless night, stars sharp against black. Cody unbuckled, standing in the narrow aisle. Mission brief. 9 passed her another tablet. Target is designated Site 47. Entry point through ventilation shaft here. He zoomed in on the image. An industrial complex half buried in rock. Internal defenses are automated drones. Data core located 70 meters underground. You'll need to jack directly into their quantum mainframe. 3 frowned. That's suicide. Direct interface with unknown quantum architecture could fry your brain. Cody looked at her calmly, so could ignoring it. 7 stepped between them. We've all taken hits, but if she goes in again so soon after Omega. Cody cut him off. You got a better option. Silence. Finally 7 shook his head. Then we go together. You don't burn alone this time. She met his eyes. No promises. The colonel returned from the cockpit, voice sharp now. Approaching the DMZ. You'll jump at 200 local. Intel confirms heavy fog and minimal radar sweep. You'll have 6 minutes before detection. Copy that, Cody said. The ghosts prepared in silence. Body armor over civilian clothes, compact weapons, lightweight data packs that would self-erase if compromised. Cody checked her gear twice, methodical as always. She felt the familiar focus settle in, the narrowing of thought until the world became steps and timing and breath. As she fastened her harness, 7 came up beside her. You think the factory people will remember? She hesitated. Some will, most forget, people move on. But not you. She glanced at him. I can't afford to. The red lights shifted to amber, 2-minute warning. The engines deepened in pitch. The cargo door began to lower, and cold air rushed in, sharp and metallic. Below them stretched the Pacific, black and infinite. Far ahead, unseen, a coastline waited, one small facility that could blind an entire continent. The colonel's voice came through the intercom. 30 seconds to jump. Ghosts, you are weapons free. Godspeed. Cody turned to her team. Remember, we're not just completing a mission. We're honoring everyone who can't be here, every ghost who never made it home. 3 touched her shoulder. For the fallen. For the fallen, the others echoed. Cody stepped to the edge. Wind roared against her face, whipping strands of hair free from the tie at her neck. Ghost protocol, she said quietly, her voice lost to the engines. We own the night. And she jumped. One by one, the others followed, shadows dropping through the darkness toward hostile ground, where no one would ever admit they'd been. As the plane banked away, the colonel watched their parachutes bloom below, small bursts of white swallowed by fog. He whispered to himself, bring them home. Then he turned back toward the cockpit. Another transmission waited, Washington, urgent, encrypted. Sir, the pilot said softly, think they'll make it. The colonel's answer was simple, they already have. Far below, the 4 ghosts drifted toward a land that didn't know their names, carrying the weight of a world that would never thank them. And in the hold of the plane, left behind on a metal bench, sat a folded piece of worn camo cloth, coffee-stained, blood-marked, ordinary and sacred all at once. A reminder that even legends need something human to come back to. Why does silence sound louder when your life depends on it? The drop had been clean. 4 shadows cut through the fog, parachutes dissolving into the mist before radar could even notice. Cody landed first, rolling, silent, her boots sinking into damp earth. The world was colorless down here, all gray and silver under a low moon. 7 landed 30 meters west, followed by 3 and 9. Their formation reassembled without a word. Years of training had built instincts that worked faster than thought. Cody's eyes swept the valley, thermal scanner flickering faintly on her wrist display. No movement, no heat signatures within 200 meters, only the cold heartbeat of the mountain ahead. That's it, 9 whispered, nodding toward the slope. A jagged cut in the rock, barely visible, the air vent they'd seen on satellite feed. Cody knelt, brushing her fingers over the ground. The soil was disturbed, new prints, too heavy for wind or wildlife. Someone been here, probably drones. 3 unslung her rifle, peering into the darkness. We expected that. No, Cody said quietly. We expected them to guard the inside. These tracks mean they're watching the approach. 7 frowned. So what's the play? Cody adjusted the dial on her headset, listening to the faint buzz of distant signals. We give them something to see and something to miss. She motioned to 9. Set a decoy uplink at the ridge, make it noisy. He grinned, always my specialty. As he jogged off toward higher ground, Cody crouched beside the vent. Thin wisps of vapor curled out heat from within. She pulled a small probe from her kit and inserted it into the shaft. The display lit up with data. 3-layer mesh, outer grid electrified, middle layer motion, inner acoustic. 3 exhaled, so impossible. Not impossible, Cody said, eyes narrowing, just inconvenient. She reached into her pack, withdrew a thin, flexible sheet, carbon mesh laced with microcapacitors. Ghost skin. Developed it before I left. It tricks the sensors into thinking nothing's there. 3 arched a brow. You built that while working in a factory. People underestimate bored veterans, Cody said. She applied the mesh carefully over the vent, sealing its sensors into a loop of false data. Then she began cutting, slow and deliberate, until a small section of metal gave way. Inside, darkness, the kind that eats sound. 9's decoy went live 5 minutes later. A burst of electromagnetic noise flared across the valley. Drone lights appeared almost instantly, sweeping the wrong direction toward the signal. "Windows open," 9 whispered over comms. Cody nodded. "Move." They slipped into the vent one by one, bodies folding into the tight metal space. The descent was slow, 30 meters of crawling in near blackness, their breathing the only sound. At the bottom, the vent opened into a maintenance corridor, sterile and humming with hidden power. Cody checked her wrist. "We're inside," switched to local comms. 7 took point, scanning intersections. The air smelled like cold metal and ozone. Every footstep echoed just enough to remind them of how wrong any noise could be. 3's voice was barely audible. "Thermal's useless. Walls are lead-lined." "Expected," Cody whispered. "Stay low." They advanced through the corridor until a steel door loomed ahead. No handle, only a biometric pad glowing faint blue. 9 frowned. "I can spoof fingerprints. Retinal scans are trickier." Cody stepped forward, studying the panel. "It's not a scan. It's pulse resonance. They use micro-vibrations from a user's heartbeat to verify identity." 3 blinked. "So what do we do?" Cody's lips tightened. "We borrow a heartbeat." She removed a small black device from her pouch, a neural pulse replicator. She pressed it to the pad and activated it. The machine hummed, mimicking stored frequencies. The door hissed, clicked, opened. They slipped inside. The next room stretched massive, a hangar-sized chamber filled with rows of glowing server towers. Blue-white light pulsed from every unit, casting ghostly shadows across steel catwalks. 7 whistled under his breath. They built a quantum farm. Cody stared, awe and dread mingling. Each node could run 1,000,000 predictive simulations per second. With this, they can anticipate defense responses before we even act. 9 moved to a terminal, fingers flying. "I can shut it down." "No," Cody said. "You trigger failsafes, it self-destructs. We need data first." 3 scanned the upper levels. 2 guards, far balcony. "I see them," Cody said. "Non-lethal takedown, quiet." 7's hand moved faster than sight, a suppressed dart pistol. 2 quick thwip sounds, and the guards slumped silently. They advanced up the stairs. At the central console, Cody plugged in a cable from her wrist device. Code streamed across the screen, lines of red, blue, and white. "I'm in." 9 leaned over her shoulder. "You're jacking straight into a live quantum feed. After what happened in Texas, that's not smart." "I'm not here to be smart," Cody said. "I'm here to finish it." She closed her eyes, syncing neural patterns. The interface hissed as it linked. Data surged. Instantly, her mind flooded with light, cascading equations, flickers of faces she didn't know, voices in a dozen languages whispering through static. Somewhere deep in the system, something moved, intelligence, alien in its precision. And then she heard it, a voice, distorted but unmistakable. "Well, well, Ghost One." Her breath caught crimson. The voice chuckled, low and taunting. "We were wondering how long it would take you to crawl back." "End of the line," Cody said. "You're done." "Oh, Commander," the voice purred. "We're not enemies. We're the same. Soldiers built by governments that forgot us. We just chose profit over patriotism." "You chose cowardice." "Funny," it said. "Your country sent you to die more times than we ever would have." The lights flickered. Systems began to shift, code reconfiguring. "They know we're inside," 9 said. "Then we don't give them long," Cody said, breaking the link. Her nose bled again, but she ignored it. 3 set EMP charges along the lower racks. 7 secure exit route. 9 copy core data. Go. They moved in perfect rhythm, silent efficiency born of shared survival. Charges placed. Data copied. Within minutes, the room was ready to burn. Cody glanced once more at the flickering console. The voice returned, softer now. "Run if you like. We already have what we need." Her stomach dropped. "What?" The lights above them pulsed red. Seven's voice came through comms, multiple heat signatures approaching, 20 maybe more, and they're fast. Trapped, Cody whispered, move now. Gunfire erupted. Drones swooped through vents, their whirring blades slicing air. The ghosts fired in short bursts, precise, surgical. Sparks rained down. Cody ducked behind a console, firing twice, hitting 2 drones cleanly. 9 blow the corridor. 9 tossed a charge. The blast sealed the main door in a spray of molten metal. They'll reroute, 3 warned. Then we're out the vent, move. Cody grabbed the data core, a glowing sphere pulsing with shifting light, and slung it into her pack. They sprinted through the upper walkway. Behind them, alarms wailed, red light bleeding through the smoke. 7 led the way to the maintenance shaft. This way. A bullet grazed his arm. He grunted but kept moving. Cody turned, firing once. The pursuing guard dropped. 3 hit the shaft release. The metal door groaned open. Cold night air poured in. They climbed fast, adrenaline replacing pain, urgency erasing fear. The shaft rattled from distant explosions. 9 was last, charges ready. Cody's voice was calm, always. As they reached the surface, she pressed the detonator. The mountain shook. Blue fire erupted from hidden vents, swallowing the facility below. They dove behind rocks as the shockwave rolled past. When the echoes faded, the valley was quiet again. The mountain smoldered, smoke curling into the night. 7 coughed, wiping dirt from his face. That enough closure for you? Cody didn't answer. She just stared at the rising smoke, the reflection of fire in her eyes. 3 crouched beside her. You okay? I heard his voice, Cody whispered. Crimson's alive. 3 frowned. You sure? Certain, and he wasn't bluffing. He said they already had what they needed. 7 checked his device. Satellite feed shows multiple transmissions before the blast, outgoing data streams. 9 cursed under his breath. We didn't stop them. Cody stood, shouldering her pack. No, but we slowed them down and we took the core. 3 tilted her head. What's in it? Cody glanced at the faintly glowing pack. Proof. Of what? That our enemies aren't foreign anymore, she said quietly. They're the people selling access from inside. The words hung heavy in the air. 7 looked up at the fatting smoke. Then what now? Cody turned toward the horizon east, where dawn was beginning to hint at the edge of the world. Now we go home. There's someone still leaking data from U.S. soil. Someone who led them straight to me. 9 looked uneasy. You think it's someone from the factory? I think it's someone who knew where I was before I did, Cody said, and I intend to find out. Hours later, they reached their extraction point, a remote stretch of coastline where a stealth drone waited. Cody uploaded the data core and sent an encrypted burst to the colonel. Package secure, she said. Target neutralized, returning to base. The reply came seconds later. Understood, and Cody, good work. She closed the channel. Her expression didn't change. 7 watched her for a long time. You're not going to rest, are you? Cody shook her head. Rest comes after the truth. He sighed. I should have known better than to think you. Stop. Ghosts don't stop, she said quietly. We fade, but we don't disappear. As the drone lifted off, wind whipped across the shoreline, scattering ash and sand. The sea glimmered faintly beneath them, endless and cold. Cody watched it until the horizon blurred. Somewhere beyond that line was the next battle, not in foreign deserts or digital firewalls, but in the quiet offices of people who thought patriotism could be bought. She pressed her hand to the duffel, feeling the faint thrum of the data core beneath her palm. Let's finish what they started, she murmured. And the drone climbed higher into the breaking dawn. Why do the worst betrayals come from those who salute you? The drone touched down before dawn on a restricted runway outside Washington. The air was sharp with the bite of winter. the kind that carries the echo of old wars. Cody stepped out first, boots striking the tarmac with that measured, unhurried rhythm that came from a soldier who'd already died once and didn't intend to rush the second time. Seven followed, stiff from the flight, his arm still bandaged. 3 and 9 brought up the rear, each scanning the horizon, instinct, not fear. They didn't expect a welcoming party, but they got one anyway. A convoy waited, unmarked SUVs, engines idling, windows dark. Out of the lead vehicle stepped Colonel Harrison. His face looked older than when she'd last seen him, deeper lines, heavier eyes. "Welcome home," he said. "Is it?" Cody asked. He gave a faint smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Depends what you mean by home." He motioned them toward the vehicles. "Debriefing. Been moved to Langley. High-level review. The President's Security Council wants eyes on the data you recovered." Cody adjusted her pack. "And the Corps stays with me." The colonel nodded once, understood. As they climbed into the SUV, Cody felt it again, that tiny static hum at the edge of hearing. Not from the engine, not from comms, from somewhere close. 3 noticed her stillness. "Something wrong." "Someone's pinging our signal," Cody murmured. "Friendly." "If they were friendly," she said, "they'd have asked first." The convoy rolled through gray light and fog, DC still half asleep. The city had that strange silence of pre-dawn, only the hum of tires and the slow, rising heartbeat of traffic. Cody watched the streets slide by. Somewhere in this city, someone had betrayed her. Someone with clearance high enough to bury ghost protocol and bring it back when convenient. 7 leaned close. "You really think it's an insider?" Cody didn't look at him. "The Phantom Cell knew exactly where I'd be. That means someone with top-level intel, probably someone in command." "Then why bring us back here?" "Because," she said softly, "if they're going to kill me, I'd rather it happen in daylight." Langley was already awake when they arrived. The building looked ordinary, just glass and steel and flagpoles, but everyone who walked its halls carried the quiet weight of secrets. Inside, the corridors smelled of coffee and old paper. The debriefing room sat 3 floors underground. Cody entered first, still carrying her pack. Around the table sat faces she didn't recognize, suits, analysts, military brass. At the head of the table, a woman in her 50s, hair sharp as her voice. "Commander Blackstone, sit." Cody didn't. "Before we start, I want confirmation of clearance." The woman held up a tablet. "Level Omega, Presidential Directive." Cody gave a single nod. She set the pack on the table, opened it, and placed the glowing core in the center. The light spilled across their faces, reflected in eyes that had seen too many secrets. "This," Cody said, "is what was running inside the North Korean facility. Quantum encryption stolen from U.S. defense contractors. And before you ask, yes, it includes classified American code." A ripple of murmurs went around the room. The woman frowned. "Meaning?" "Meaning," Cody said, "someone on our side sold them the blueprints." The colonel leaned forward. "You're saying we have a traitor inside Defense Command?" "I'm saying," Cody replied, "we have a businessman who thinks loyalty ends where profit begins." She tapped the console. Data spilled across the room's screens, transaction logs, encrypted messages, contract numbers. The name that appeared froze the air. "Stone Defense Technologies." The colonel blinked. "Stone as in?" "Yes," Cody said. "Richard Stone Jr., the same man who signed my employment contract at the factory." For a long time, nobody spoke. Then the woman at the head of the table said, "That's impossible. Stone's facilities are cleared. He supplies 50% of our microchip infrastructure." Cody's tone was calm, but there was steel beneath it. His company was infiltrated years ago. Crimson Phantom didn't just hack from outside. They partnered from within. 3 leaned forward, voice low. "You think Stone's one of them?" "No," Cody said. "Worse, he's their employer." Seven exhaled, a long, low sound. So the man who mocked you on your first day built the system that almost destroyed NORAD. Cody's eyes darkened. The irony isn't lost on me. The woman in charge looked at the colonel. Verify this data. If it holds, Stone's entire corporation is under indictment. It holds, Cody said. I verified the hash before extraction. Every byte's authenticated. The woman studied her for a moment. Commander, you've been operating under direct presidential authority since yesterday. I assume you're aware what that means. I am. Then you understand this is now a counterintelligence matter. We'll take it from here. Cody smiled small, controlled, tired. No, you won't. Excuse me. You'll open an investigation that will leak within a week. Stone will run, evidence will vanish, and Phantom will move to another host. We've played this game before. The colonel cleared his throat. She's not wrong. Bureaucracy will bury it. The woman's gaze hardened. And what do you propose, Commander? Cody met her eyes. Let me finish it. That night she stood alone on the roof of the Langley complex, city lights flickering far beyond the perimeter. The wind cut cold against her face. Down below, the world turned, unaware of the wars fought in silence. Seven joined her, carrying 2 cups of black coffee. You ever gonna sleep again? Not tonight. He handed her a cup. You think Stone's the leak. I think he's the lock, and someone else is turning the key. She sipped the coffee, bitter, grounding. He's smart. He won't run yet. He'll wait until he knows we've seen the data. Then he'll try to erase himself. Then we hit him first. Cody nodded slowly. Tomorrow before sunrise. Seven looked at her, concern flickering behind his steady eyes. You sure you're up for this? After the neural burn, after everything. Cody cut him off gently. Pain reminds me I'm alive. Guilt reminds me why. He studied her for a long moment. You could have stayed gone, you know. Nobody would have blamed you. I didn't come back for blame, she said quietly. I came back for closure. The wind whipped harder then, scattering her hair across her face. For a moment she thought she saw movement on a distant rooftop, a glint of metal, but when she blinked it was gone. Before dawn she and the ghosts were already moving. Civilian clothes, suppressed weapons, unmarked SUV. The target, Stone's private estate outside Arlington. From the road it looked peaceful, manicured lawns, glass walls reflecting sunrise. Inside, Cody knew, were encrypted servers connecting straight to international shell accounts. 3 watched through binoculars. Guards 12, no visible heavy weapons. 7 frowned. That's too few for someone like Stone. Because he's not expecting a fight, Cody said. He thinks the system will protect him. 9 cracked a grin. System on vacation. They moved in as the light changed from gray to gold. Silent entry through the service gate, bypassing alarms before they could whisper. Inside, the air smelled of new money, sterile, expensive, soulless. Stone was in his office, robe half-tied, a cup of espresso steaming beside him. He didn't look up until Cody stepped through the door. For a second, confusion flickered across his face, then recognition. Commander Blackstone, he said smoothly, to what do I owe the... Save it, Cody said. You sold national security data to Crimson Phantom. He laughed softly, shaking his head. Conspiracy theories, you're out of your depth, soldier. She tossed a small projector onto his desk. It flickered to life, displaying transaction records, message logs, digital signatures, undeniable. The smile faltered. You think this matters, Stone said. You think anyone up there will punish me. I am defense. You don't build war without me. Cody stepped closer, voice low. You built profit from blood. You made ghosts out of the living. Semantics, he said. War has always been business. I just stopped pretending otherwise. Something in her went very still then, not rage, not even disgust, just clarity. You're right, she said softly. War is business. Then she held up the small data core. And this is your bankruptcy. Stone's eyes widened. You wouldn't. But she already had. She pressed the activator. The data core pulsed once, then streamed every file directly to open-access media servers around the world. Financial records, internal emails, proof of decades of corruption. Within seconds, alarms began to chime on Stone's own systems. He grabbed for his phone, panic flickering for the first time. "What did you do?" he hissed. "I told the truth," Cody said, "and the truth doesn't need permission." Behind her, 3 spoke softly into her comm. "Upload confirmed. News agencies are already mirroring the data." Stone's face turned pale. "You've doomed the industry. You think America can survive without us." Cody met his eyes. America survives because of those who serve, not those who sell. When they left, the sun was climbing over the city. Sirens were already echoing in the distance, not for them but for him. As they reached the SUV, 9 exhaled. That was final. "Necessary," Cody said. 7 leaned on the hood, looking out across the skyline. "So what now?" Cody looked toward the horizon, where morning light spilled over glass towers. "Now the real war begins, not with bullets, but with accountability." 3 smiled faintly. "Think they'll ever know what you did for them?" Cody shook her head. "They don't need to. They just need to live in a world worth defending." They climbed into the SUV, engines rumbling to life. Behind them, news drones were already circling Stone's mansion, broadcasting the fall of an empire. Cody watched through the rearview mirror, the man who'd mocked her, belittled her, now surrounded by the ruins of his own greed. She didn't smile. There was no satisfaction in justice, only relief. As they drove toward the rising sun, her reflection in the window looked like someone else, older, sharper, but still human enough to hurt. In her mind, she heard her husband's voice again, calm and proud. "You did what was right." And for the first time in years, she believed him. How do you fight for a country that suddenly wants to forget what you did for it? The city was awake now, sirens, headlines, the electric hum of panic disguised as order. Screens across Washington blazed with the same name. Stone Defense Technologies, data leak exposes massive breach. Cody watched from the safe house window, a single bulb burning over her shoulder. The air inside smelled of dust and burnt coffee. Outside, the streetlights flickered like dying stars. 7 sat at the table, scrolling through endless news feeds. It's everywhere. International channels, defense blogs, even late-night talk shows. They're calling it the biggest security scandal in 50 years. 3 leaned against the wall, arms crossed. "And they're already blaming us." 9 looked up. "How? We didn't even show our faces." "Doesn't matter," she said. "Every ghost leaves a shadow. Somebody's filling in the blanks." Cody turned from the window. "How bad?" 7 sighed. "Congress wants hearings. The president's under pressure to distance himself. The media's asking who leaked it, who authorized it, who hacked America." Cody gave a bitter smile. "Funny, they love heroes until the hero tells the truth." She walked to the table, set down her sidearm and rubbed her eyes. The neural burn still ached behind her temples, a dull throb that pulsed with every heartbeat. 3's voice softened. "You should be in a hospital." Cody shook her head. "Hospitals ask questions, questions get answers, answers get buried." "Still," 3 said, "you're bleeding through your bandage." Cody pressed a napkin to the side of her face. "Occupational hazard." By midday, the safe house screens filled with live feeds. Stock markets crashing, emergency briefings, defense contracts frozen. Protesters gathered outside Stone's headquarters, waving signs that red patriotism isn't for sale and ghosts saved us. 9 smirked. "Guess we've got fans." Cody didn't look up. "Fans are just future critics. Give it a week." 7 closed his laptop. "They'll come for us, you know, maybe not with bullets, but with indictments, leaks, reputations. I know. Then what's next? She looked at him, tired, steady, unflinching. We disappear again, until they need ghosts. The colonel's encrypted message arrived moments later, cutting through the silence. Stay off-grid. Internal inquiry incoming. Trust no one. Cody read it twice, then deleted it. Translation, 9 asked. Translation, she said. We've been disowned. They packed in silence, weapons stripped and cleaned, files burned. No one spoke because goodbyes felt redundant in their world. 3 paused by the doorway. You ever think we'll stop running? Cody adjusted her jacket. The day the world stops needing lies. 7 gave a quiet laugh. So never. As they left the safe house, a drone hummed above, low, searching. Cody froze, scanning the sky. The model was U.S. issue, civilian surveillance retrofitted for reconnaissance. They've triangulated us, she whispered. 9 cursed, how? Probably the colonel's message. He's clean, but his line is. 3 gripped her rifle. We move. They sprinted through the alleyway, boots splashing through puddles, fog curling around them like smoke. The drone's beam swept past, a white eye slicing the dark. 7 fired once, a pulse round that fried its optics. The machine dropped, hissing, into a trash heap. They didn't slow down. 2 blocks later, they reached the old metro entrance, sealed years ago, forgotten by most. Cody pried the gate open and slipped inside. The tunnel smelled of rust and history. Water dripped from the ceiling, echoing like distant footsteps. This way, Cody said. There's an old fiber relay down here, Ghost Line 0, still live. They followed her deeper, flashlights cutting narrow tunnels of light through the dark. At the relay station, ancient servers blinked weakly, half-asleep machines still whispering to one another. Cody powered one up. The screen flickered, showing a login older than the war itself. Command code, 3 asked. Cody typed slowly, forgotten but not gone. The system came alive. 7 watched as layers of encryption fell away. What are you doing? Leaving proof again. Didn't you already leak stone? This isn't for them, Cody said. This is for us. She opened a secure vault and began uploading everything, the mission logs, the Dallas footage, even her own debriefs. If we disappear, someone someday will know what happened. 9 swallowed. You think we won't make it? Cody's fingers paused on the keyboard. I think history forgets too easily. They stayed underground until nightfall. When they finally emerged, the city had changed. Police barricades lined the streets. News vans crowded intersections. Digital billboards flashed government INVESTIGATES rogue unit. 7 stared up at 1. That's us. Cody didn't even blink. Then we're already ghosts. They moved separately from there. 3 headed north, 9 west, 7 stayed with Cody. They didn't say goodbye, just a nod, that small military gesture that meant see you when I see you. By dawn, Cody and 7 were 200 miles south, parked at a truck stop outside Richmond. Rain drummed softly on the windshield. You sure about this plan? He asked. No, she said, but it's the only one I have. She handed him a small drive. Everything. Missions, contacts, names. If I don't make it through the next 48 hours, you release it. He frowned. To who? Anyone who still believes truth matters. He tucked it into his jacket, eyes heavy. You sound like you're saying goodbye. Just being realistic. That night, Cody met the colonel in a parking garage beneath an empty federal building. No lights, just echoes and rain. He looked worse than before, eyes sunken, uniform rumpled, the fatigue of someone carrying secrets too heavy for one life. You weren't supposed to come, he said. Neither were you. He gave a tired chuckle. They're blaming you, Cody. Ghost protocol, being labeled rogue. They need a scapegoat before this hits Congress. And you? I told them I lost contact with you. They didn't believe me. Cody stepped closer. Then tell me why my safe house was compromised. Only 5 people knew that location. The colonel didn't answer. Was it you? She asked quietly. His silence said enough. Cody exhaled, not anger, just disappointment. Why? They threatened to dissolve command. You don't understand the pressure. The president. Don't, she said. Don't say you did it for country. You did it to survive. He looked away. You're right. She holstered her pistol but didn't raise it. You know what hurts most, Colonel? I wasn't surprised. He swallowed hard. What now? Cody walked past him into the rain. Now you live with it. By morning, the colonel was gone, vanished like every bureaucrat who'd ever traded loyalty for longevity. Cody sat in a roadside diner 2 towns over, nursing black coffee and a bandaged hand. Her reflection in the window looked like someone else, part soldier, part ghost, part woman still trying to remember who she'd been before the war. Seven slid into the booth across from her. You sure this is where you want to be found? She smiled faintly. If they're looking for a monster, they won't find one drinking diner coffee. He handed her a folded newspaper. The headline read, Ghost Protocol Commander Blackstone, National Threat or National Hero. She skimmed it, expression unreadable. Media can't decide if they want to thank me or hang me. Seven leaned forward. So what do we do now? Cody looked out the window at the rain-washed highway. We wait, not to run, to see what survives. What if nothing does? Then at least we tried. They sat there for hours, watching the world move past. Truckers, families, students, all living lives she'd fought to protect. At some point, Seven asked quietly, do you ever regret it? Cody took a long sip of coffee. Regret means you do it differently. I wouldn't. He nodded slowly. You think they'll remember your name? She smiled, almost wistful. Doesn't matter, ghosts don't need names. Outside, the rain finally stopped. Light broke through the clouds, pale and uncertain but real. Cody stared at it for a long time, as if seeing something she hadn't in years. I used to think heroism was about winning, she said. Now I know it's about enduring. Seven followed her gaze. You planning to keep enduring? Until someone else takes the weight. He smiled faintly. That might take a while. Then I'll keep my boots on. They paid their bill and stepped into the cold. Somewhere behind them, the diner TV announced breaking news. Federal Whistleblower Act invoked. Commander Blackstone granted temporary immunity pending review. Cody stopped mid-stride. They blinked. Seven frowned. Think it's real. Doesn't matter, it buys us time. They walked toward the edge of the parking lot where their car waited. The sky was clearing now, streaks of gold cutting through the gray. Cody looked up, whispering almost to herself, you can't erase truth, you can only delay it. Seven heard but didn't answer. He just opened the door for her, and for a fleeting second the world looked almost peaceful. They drove off toward the horizon, 2 ghosts fading into daylight, carrying a story too heavy for history and too human to forget. Sometimes the only victory is surviving the lie long enough to tell it. What happens when the mission ends, but the war inside does? Weeks passed, headlines shifted. The noise died down the way thunder does after a long storm, fading but never forgotten. The world had found a new scandal, a new villain, a new distraction. But somewhere on the Carolina coast, in a small rented cottage half hidden by dune grass, the woman the world couldn't decide to hate or honor sat alone on the porch, watching the tide breathe in and out. Cody Blackstone had become a myth again. Officially, she didn't exist. Unofficially, every intelligence network on the planet still whispered her name. She lived simply. Coffee in the morning, silence in the afternoon, static on the shortwave at night. No uniforms, no orders, just the hum of the sea and the ache in her chest that refused to heal. A small wooden box sat on the table beside her, The brass coin Tom Bailey had given Alina Rodriguez. Somehow it had found its way here, mailed in a plain envelope with no return address. Inside it, a note in shaky handwriting. He said you'd know what to do with this. Cody turned the coin between her fingers. The metal was warm from the sun, edges worn smooth. She closed her hand around it and whispered, "I do." She thought about disappearing completely. New name, new country, maybe even peace. But peace, she'd learned, wasn't the absence of noise. It was the ability to live with it. Every night she still dreamed of screens full of light, of the neural feedback crackling behind her eyes, of her husband's voice saying you did what you had to do. Some mornings she woke convinced he was sitting beside her, coffee steaming, ready to argue about nothing at all. Other mornings she woke to the wind. 7 checked in once a week through encrypted bursts, always the same line, still here, still invisible. 3 had moved north, working veterans' rehab clinics under an alias. 9 vanished somewhere in South America, chasing ghosts of his own. Cody didn't try to pull them back. Ghosts deserved their silence. One afternoon, the quiet broke. A black SUV stopped at the edge of the sand road. The door opened, and Colonel Harrison stepped out. He wasn't in uniform this time, just a coat and a look that carried too much regret. Cody didn't move. "Took you long enough." He managed a small smile. "You always did know how to find impossible places." She poured another cup of coffee and slid it toward the empty chair. "You here to arrest me or thank me?" "Neither," he said, sitting. "I'm here because I owe you an apology." Cody watched the horizon instead of him. "You sold me out, Colonel. That's not something an apology covers." "I know," his voice cracked a little. "They would have dismantled everything. I thought if I gave them just enough I could protect the rest. I was wrong." Silence stretched between them, filled only by the rhythm of the waves. Finally she said, "You didn't protect anyone, you just postponed the truth." He nodded, "And now?" "Now I protect it instead." He looked at her hands, steady, calm, scarred. "What will you do?" "Nothing dramatic," she said. "No leaks, no fights, just live honestly. That's the one rebellion they never expect." The colonel smiled faintly. "They reinstated you, you know, honorably discharged this time, full pension, quiet recognition." Cody gave a soft laugh. "Recognition isn't quiet, and I don't need medals." He reached into his coat and set a small folder on the table. "It's not a medal, it's authorization. Veterans Outreach Program, you run it. Your rules, ghosts helping ghosts." She looked at the folder but didn't touch it. "Why me?" "Because people still listen when you speak, even if they pretend not to." He stood, leaving the folder beside her coffee. "You once told me dignity doesn't need to speak. Sometimes it just acts. Maybe it's time it spoke again." Cody said nothing. He left without another word. That night she built a fire on the beach. The wind carried salt and wood smoke through her hair. She opened the folder. Inside were forms, blank IDs, government letterhead, and at the bottom a handwritten note, "For every veteran who thought invisibility was safety. H." Cody stared at the flames. She thought of the factory floor, the jeers, the spilled coffee, the convoy that had come for her. She thought of Alina Rodriguez holding that brass coin in trembling hands. And she thought of all the men and women who'd gone home to silence because no one wanted to see their scars. She made her decision. 3 months later, a new name appeared on small flyers posted around Texas, Virginia, and the Carolinas. The Haven Project, Employment, Counseling, and Transition for Veterans. Founded by D. Blackstone, Ret. It started with a single building, an old warehouse reclaimed from disuse. Concrete floors, steel beams, familiar sounds. Cody fixed the wiring herself, painted the walls a pale sand color, brought in second-hand computers and sturdy tables. When the first veteran walked through the door, a young woman missing 2 fingers and most of her hope, Cody simply said, "Grab a coffee. You're home." Word spread. Within weeks more came. Mechanics, medics, code breakers, pilots, some wanted jobs, some wanted to forget, all wanted to be seen. Cody never spoke of what she'd done. If they asked, she just smiled and said, "I worked maintenance once." One evening, after everyone had gone, she sat alone in the quiet office. The last light of day poured through the high windows, turning everything gold. On the desk lay the brass coin. She turned it over and over until the metal felt alive again. Seven's message came through on the secure line. "Ghosts checking in. Proud of you, Commander." She typed back, not Commander anymore, just Cody. A pause, then his reply, still Ghost One. She smiled, small, wistful, real. Outside, the sky deepened to indigo. The first stars appeared, faint and patient. She walked to the door and stepped out into the evening air. The sound of the waves reached her even here, distant but steady. For the first time in years, she didn't feel hunted, just present. Weeks turned to months. The haven grew. Veterans trained, healed, rebuilt lives. Sometimes reporters tried to visit, asking for interviews, wanting the legend of the woman who saved NORAD. She always refused. "This place isn't about ghosts," she told one persistent journalist. "It's about the living." On the anniversary of the Texas attack, the workers from the factory arrived unannounced. Elena Rodriguez was among them, carrying a small box of pastries and a folded American flag. She found Cody outside, sanding a workbench. "You built all this?" Elena asked. "With help," Cody said. Elena handed her the flag. "We wanted you to have this. We kept it in the break room after you left, figured it belonged here more." Cody unfolded it, fingers tracing the stitched stars. "Thank you." Elena hesitated. "There's something else. I took that coin you gave me and showed it to some of the guys. They started donating for this place." Cody blinked. "Why?" "Because we learned what dignity looks like," Elena said softly. "It looks like you." Cody didn't trust her voice enough to answer. She just nodded and went back to sanding, eyes bright with something that wasn't just sawdust. That night, after everyone had left, she walked the empty halls. The echo of footsteps sounded almost like the cadence of soldiers on patrol, familiar, comforting. She stopped by a window overlooking the courtyard, where the flag now hung in soft lamplight. The breeze moved it gently, like it was breathing. Her reflection stared back at her, lines deeper, eyes older but finally at peace. She whispered to the glass, to the ghost she carried, "You can rest now." And maybe, for the first time, they did. A year later, the president visited the haven quietly, without cameras. He shook her hand and said, "You were right, Commander. The system needed a conscience." Cody replied, "It just needed to remember." He smiled, "Will you ever come back?" She looked around at the veterans laughing in the courtyard, the hum of machines, the scent of fresh paint and coffee. "I already did." When he left, she walked to the shoreline again. The sky burned orange over the water. The wind carried the faint echo of a convoy somewhere far away, or maybe it was just the memory of one. She stood there a long time, coat flapping in the wind, coin warm in her palm. Somewhere behind her, a new generation of soldiers trained not for war, but for rebuilding. And Cody Blackstone, the woman once mocked in a factory and saluted by a colonel, finally allowed herself a breath that didn't taste like battle. The tide rolled in. The footprints she'd made filled slowly with water, vanishing into the sand, not erased, just absorbed. Because that's what ghosts do when they've done their part. They fade quietly, gracefully, leaving the world a little safer, a little wiser. Sometimes dignity doesn't speak. It simply acts.